setting this up and getting our Instagram feed up and all that kind of stuff, which takes an extra second.
I'm ready to tear into some Nancy Mace and
yes,
chat about what happened over the weekend in Portland and all the fun things that we can talk about, you and I, before Handsome Bob comes on.
Yeah.
Handsome Bob Seska. That's what you just call him all the time. That's his official name.
I think that's right. Handsome Bob. It sounds like something in an old country movie, you know.
Exactly.
Something people in Rabbit Hash, Kentucky would say, you know.
Right.
That's Handsome Bob. He lives down there. We don't really let him around the lady folk.
I'm going to go set a spell with Handsome Bob.
And let Handsome Bob will spin a tale for you, a yarn.
He's going to spin a tale, a yarn over some sarsaparillas.
That's right. Old Handsome Bob. You get knee deep in that sarsaparilla, and there's just no way out, ladies. Let me tell you what.
Roll myself a cigarillo and sit back and relax and enjoy the evening with Handsome Bob.
That's right.
As one would.
As one should, I would argue.
I mean, I'm assuming it's Kimberly's entire life is just getting to spin yarns with Handsome Bob. What a life. She's fairly easy on the eyes and ears as well.
Yeah,
so,
the two of them, absolutely.
They should be the magazine's most beautiful couple.
I insist. I would argue that we need them to procreate just for the sake of humanity. You know.
I think that's probably not going to happen, but perhaps we can clone them in some way.
Yeah, that might be it. Yeah, against their will, obviously, will be. Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's right.
So that other people can enjoy what it's like to have a really great partner in life.
That's right. We can all get. Everyone can just rent a clone of them for a period of time.
Why not?
Right.
Rent a Bob.
Yeah.
I like it.
Rent a Bob.
Rent a
Yet
Bob
another thing that sounds like you could get it at the Rabbit Hash Country Store. We got Rent a Bob over here. Yeah.
Along with a tall boy and some loose tobacco, so
That's
you can
right.
roll your own.
Well,
Right? That's what I
shame.
Handsome Bob still got all of his teeth.
It's true.
That's
and a few of some
in the holler.
and a few of somebody else's.
Her.
Okay, let's see. Instagram's live is streaming on all services. Seems to be up and running.
Kids.
They're all in the background gathering. Hit the like, everybody, before we go live officially. While we're chit-chatting in the background as I do all the tech work, because I've discovered that there is a little thing I can put the software in called producer mode that allows me to change things off camera, like change chirons and all that kind of stuff, and it crashes now if you try it. So I have to do everything either way ahead of time or right out in the open. These are my two options. So I was glad you popped in.
My
when
cats
you did.
are fighting, so I've given them the 2-minute warning, but I can't promise you that they're going to stop.
Understood. I don't mind, actually. All right, we're less than 2 minutes away.
Maxine's doing that growl thing. She's got that, like, Duke should know better. He does not know. Here they go. Here they go. See, this is why I need to move to a bigger place. This place is too small for them to be doing that.
True.
One of them eventually hits a wall or runs into a cat box because they think that's a place to do hide and seek, and I disagree with that. So.
Right. It's a lot.
They don't want to me though. I don't know. There's so much going on. Hal, I don't know if we'll be able to cover everything in that.
I don't think so. I mean, in our situation, not a bad problem to have, I suppose.
I suppose, but one good thing I learned the other day is that you're going to be in Portland in September. So I'm excited for that.
Around my birthday. So no pressure, but I want you to sign my copy of your book for my birthday.
Yay! Yes, please bring it with you, and you can make everybody jealous that they don't have a signed copy, so they'll have to.
That's my whole goal.
If that's your whole goal, Hal, I mean, I'm going to totally raise that one.
Understood. All right.
The clock down. It's exciting. It's like staying up late on New Year's watching.
Isn't it? Yeah, it's its own special countdown. And
Who knows what we'll see on the other side of it? See,
I think
it's all the unknown.
we'll
It
see
could
us.
be anything.
It could work. It could crash and burn. We don't know. We're building that tension. 10
We're going
seconds
together.
left. Oh, this
Hand
and
in
it's.
hand.
I think it works really well with the kind of space theme. The countdown means more. My new
I
set.
like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here we go. This is us. Because it almost started a whole like hour again. That's amazing. That countdown thing starts over again. Be like, no.
No.
Hi everybody.
Like Y2K.
Yes.
What's gonna happen? It'll all go down.
Yeah, or nothing will happen at all. Hi, welcome to Housemarque's Mornings Mega Worldwide, aka Housemarque's Mondays Mega Worldwide, aka the beginning of another horrible week for Donald John Trump. I'm glad that Tara Dublin could join us, TaraDublinRocks.com, to get her book and her message and follow to her Substack links and all those things. We'll cover that, I have no doubt, dozens of times over the course of this. But yes, I'm going to make sure your mic is loud enough. So, and I think we are. We'll be all right.
Turn it up, man.
Yeah. Is that Freedom Rock or is it Tara Dublin?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So,
let's get all the Gen X references out that we can in this hour.
Absolutely. And then one of these days when I can find some way to get around all the copyright strikes, I'll play my version of "There Goes My Hero" that I sang at the Jam not too long ago. Which I if you've seen it on YouTube, I think you would approve. I'm just saying.
Aw,
Yeah.
have to definitely check it out.
I'm proud. It was very good. Yeah. Overall, yeah. So lots of stuff to cover. Lord Almighty.
Yeah.
I don't even know where we jump in. I don't watch the Oscars and I didn't have time because I was on an airplane yesterday, and I have a rule about giving awards for art. I believe that giving awards for art is stupid, and there's no way you can judge like best tiers on a scale from 1 to 10, and it's a ridiculous concept, and I don't approve, and I will continue to say that until they give me one. And then I will cry and talk about Mrs. Adams, my acting teacher in high school. But until that point, phooey.
I mean, I would say I enjoyed the broadcast.
I heard it had Kenergy, right?
There was a lot of Kenergy. That performance was, I think, if not the best, and definitely the top performances on the Oscars of all time. Just the energy that it created in the audience, and everyone just was behind it and into it and loved it. And the expression on Greta Gerwig's face as it was happening, and how she and Margot Robbie sang along. All of it was it was just really fun. And it also seemed like the most standing ovations I've ever seen during an Oscars telecast. And the fact that everyone seemed really happy for each other.
Right.
When anybody won, didn't matter who won. Everyone was happy, super happy for the winners. And then Jimmy Kimmel got off the best line ever towards the end of the night when he read Donald Trump's Truth Social post and said, "Isn't it past your jail time?"
Yeah,
which is a beautiful line.
Sure.
That's a beautiful line that we can literally use with any Republican.
Right.
So, keep that in your hip pocket at all times. And I mean, yes, I would agree with you that giving awards for art is a little silly. All of art is subjective, and art
I'm
is
being
in the
ironic about
eye
it.
of the beholder. And the ear of the listener, and all of that, and what you like is what you like, and don't yuck another person's yum is what I learned from you.
Thank you.
Also,
Thank you very much.
I think I've only seen 2 of the movies that were nominated. I saw Barbie, because you have to, and then I watched Poor Things the other night. And have you watched Poor Things?
No, I have not.
Oh, that you should, because there's so much pubic hair on display. There's so much frontal nudity and lots of sex. Lots of it. And I was just like, wow. So between Poor Things and Saltburn, I've had my fill of images
gratuitous
that I
nudity.
Can't unsee.
Yeah.
I'm good.
How do you think the people in 9 Songs felt? Which was a relationship movie that was shot, I want to say, maybe almost 10 years ago now.
Isn't that the one with all the really graphic sex in it?
It's not a lot. It's just it had a real blowjob and a couple other things in it, and that was very shocking at the time. And now and they didn't win an Oscar, and they were that's what you get for being first a lot of times.
Hey, well, if you're gonna break ground, do it with a dick in your mouth, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how to do anything. I don't know how to get people to pay attention. I don't. One thing that I did love, and who was it? It might have. Oh, I think it was Cord Jefferson who won for American Fiction, and he was like, instead of spending $50 million on a superhero movie, why don't you make a bunch of small $5 million movies? Hi, why don't you option my book, The Sound of Settling, and make it into a streaming series? New talent from new source, new content. I believe, and just like all of the support for people who was like their first time, and like Divine Joy winning for the first time, all of that. I loved all of the celebration of everything. Like I don't have a problem with celebrating each other's work.
Yeah.
I have a problem with someone saying this was the best of all, because subjective.
Exactly.
But have a party for sure. Have a party celebrating your work, and especially
I'm tormented by the good works of Ryan Gosling, because for a long time I didn't particularly appreciate his work. I found it hyper subtle, meaning he was afraid to show anything. He was afraid to cross a line, so his face was almost like frozen for like half a decade. Everything he did was stoic and stuff, and it reached a zenith and was really functional in Drive. In Drive, it's the perfect use of that tendency in him as an actor. But when he did The Nice Guys with Russell Crowe, I was like, okay, I have a new favorite modern film. Just a joy to watch. Old-fashioned 70s, I would argue, if not early 80s, buddy cop kind of film. The two of them are amazing together. It was great. I love it.
Yeah, but I have a problem with Russell Crowe, and I won't watch anything that Russell Crowe is in. Well, Russell Crowe thinks it's okay to hit women. It's not. That's why he blocked me on Twitter. I told him.
All right.
He insta-blocked me on Twitter.
I would argue it is not. I agree, it is not.
Yeah, it's not. You know what? I don't think my earbuds are working. One second. Am I hearing you on my earbuds talk?
Hello, check 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, no, I'm not hearing you on my earbuds. I'm just yelling. I'm just yelling out loud. I don't know why they're not working.
Okay, you
Can
were
you hear
hearing
me
from
okay,
the
though?
Yeah, you sound great. Were you hearing me through
great,
just?
I don't need these things in my ears.
Look at that.
Right, then.
Hey,
what's up?
however, do
Anyway,
we'll get an awful level of feedback. That said,
are we getting feedback? Because if we're getting feedback, I'll try to put them back in.
We're good. You're fine.
We're good. All right. So anyway,
if they
fuck
weren't
Russell
on,
Crowe.
I love that. Hold on one second. Can I just say for the record, if we weren't getting feedback and they weren't on before, putting them back in your ears will change nothing other unless maybe
I'm gonna put them back in their little.
No, don't. Yeah,
you
don't need them. But I find that very funny. As a nerd. So yeah.
Whatever, man. I don't. As long as you can hear and see me and I sound fine.
Yeah, we're good. You sound great.
Okay.
As long as you.
So anyway, I thought that was a very, that was just a really fun moment, and it's now going to be like this cultural zeitgeist thing, because already the videos were being shared instantly, and rightly so. And the way they committed, and I have a little crush on Mark Ronson, so that was also nice. It's always nice to see Mark Ronson out and about. But I'm okay with people having a party to celebrate the good things that they've done. So, and inviting us to watch. That's fine.
Here's the thing. I wish I look forward to a day in the not so distant future when we can go back to like Hollywood-esque stuff being a celebration of entertainment and the world that it is inside, instead of using it as a platform for stuff, which I think in some ways was launched / jumped the shark with Marlon Brando having Sachin Littlefeather accept his Oscar for him and come up and make the statement. Sachin Littlefeather wasn't Native American. That was fake. Like, she was not.
Right.
I mean, that amounted to, after all, and it turned into a huge thing. Like, it was this big, it was a huge moment in sort of almost a progressive stance being made at the Oscars, and a political moment and all this stuff. And so the irony is that it started out as something that would seem like uber woke, especially for the time, and it turned out to be borderline an Andy Kaufman bit.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong. I mean, like, beyond, you want to talk about like people who are all okay with awful, like the word is that Marlon Brando sexually assaulted one of his co-stars. I forget what movie it was, because I've never been a huge fan.
It was Last Tango in Paris.
Yes, Last Tango in Paris, right.
He actually inserted things into the woman's body without consent.
permission.
And
Yeah,
so,
gross. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, ugh.
Gross
And
like Nancy Mace.
right.
I'm
Well, and
trying to transition.
that kind of
That's an
brings
actual
us
transition.
right. Even like a weirder Gordian knot of just tied up horseshit in that world. Like, and I'm like, it is important that we convey certain messages in art, but if you do it like too overtly, it actually doesn't work. As a matter of fact, most of I would say the backlash against what's quote unquote woke Hollywood and all this stuff from an audience standpoint, not from the fucking who cares what the Daily Wire thinks, but as far as audience not seeing stuff that normally they might be attracted to seeing the story of something, is just how kind of like raw and unartistic it is. Like they just kind of like, it's like a stack of facts minus some of other facts, and you're either meant to feel bad or feel good about how this story went or how it turned out, and it's the art is taken out of it, the allegory, the as much it becomes like, how close can we get to a documentary with this, and that doesn't actually serve a lot of times, because you can't. If you're basing something on a true story, it will always have an element of farce, and the more you try to shove that down, the more people will go, yeah, but, and the great example of that is the fucking the what's his name, Caviezel movie that they just did, Sounds of what this Sound of Freedom, Sound of Freedom,
Fury, Sound of Freedom.
yeah.
I prefer
Which
the Sound of Settling.
I
Thank
agree
you so much.
You're welcome. The Sound of Freedom
Tim
was
Caviezel is fucking crazy. He is a crazy person.
Well, yes, true, but it was also bullshit. Like the
Of course, it's
story
bullshit.
of the girl was based on, neither of those kids ever left the United States. They weren't trafficked to fucking Brazil or across the U.S. line south, which was one of the other fucked up stories of this. It mixes and matches two stories, and ultimately that story was based on a woman, a mother who trafficked her son to their landlord for rent and stuff, because he was gnarly, and they were like, and it was like almost a cult like relationship she had with the guy. The daughter was never a part of it, and then but they were like, for this audience, you could just so fucking tell that for their audience, they'd care about it like that. For them,
Right.
you know what I mean? It's like, for whatever reason, they're more uncomfortable with the idea of that version of sexual assault, where it's very, they could create this pristine virgin-esque kind of idea of a girl, but if it happens to a boy, he should be able to fight it off, and it's his fault a little bit, and all that kind of stuff. It wouldn't be as clear. So they literally flipped what had happened to the two kids in this fucking story. And again, they're trying to make a fake documentary about a story in an
When
attempt.
do we know them to have ever told the truth? I mean,
Right.
It's
like Katie Britt.
I mean, yeah, we absolutely have to talk about Katie Britt. Excellent parody from ScarJo on Saturday Night Live. It was one of those things where you're like, what am I watching? What am I witnessing here? What's happening? Why are you sitting at Home Depot being weird? That didn't look like a real kitchen that she had ever lifted a finger in, first of all. And like her family used as props. They all looked like they were background extras from Get Out. And they were all just like, these weird,
that was one of the best moments, I think, in the in that was like, and speaking of T, and she starts doing the bit from Get Out, the movie, and
I mean, that was great. That was great.
Super
all
funny.
of it was just, but the parody was spot on. But when you were watching the real thing, you were like, what? What is this voice? What are you doing? What's this? What is this? I'm not acting. I mean, just like, what are you fucking doing?
Yeah.
And there's many layers going on here, because the GOP was like, we need a woman who's telegenic that nobody knows, and put her out there, because they couldn't use any of the other GOP women. Like, you're not going to put trash bag Stefanik there. You can't put Marjorie there when she's dressed like a pack of Marlboro Reds who works at Hooters.
Oh my God. Yeah. Like,
And then
enough with the
Bobo
flair.
I don't know what Bobo was dressed for, but she had like that big top knot going. So it looked like she was, and she was wearing like all this dark self tanner. So she definitely looked like trash on like a carnival cruise looking for anyone to
Right.
hook up with that night. So
Well, I would argue, I would say that there is probably, it's I have on good intelligence that because she's, part of the reason she split with her, kind of podunk homeboy that, wagged his dick at 16-year-olds and all this kind of stuff after, while she's probably planning on jettisoning him at one point for her political career because he was a liability. If you think of one thing that stood out before she groped that dude
right.
at at the Beetlejuice show, the biggest thing that constantly got thrown back at her was the fact that, oh, you're married to a dude who showed his dick to some 16-year-olds at a bowling alley, and you're like, that's the man for me. Oh,
Here's Duke.
Duke,
What a
Duke,
giant.
Duke,
It was,
Duke of
but
Cats.
now, but what's she gonna do about her son? Her son with like the laundry list of crimings that he did. The one who got
Right.
arrested as she was tweeting about the quote unquote Biden crime family. Her own son was getting arrested. You can't
Right.
make this up. You can't make it up how terrible Republicans are, and yet they continue to set a new low for humanity. I think by the hour now. I used to say on the daily, but I think it's by the hour at this point.
Well,
So
again, I think she was kicking him to the curb, and that was part of why they were having the tussly problems that they were having, on top of the fact that he's who he is and she's who she is and whatever.
yeah, but
But
the fact that her children
I would
are now
I would have
committing
no
felonies.
doubt that she is trolling for bigger fish in the DC area.
Good luck. Good luck.
I-
If you don't think Daddy Ted is still paying her to hang out? Because
well, here's the
that's
thing:
how
there are
she got there.
he's close to possibly losing his Senate seat for the first
Oh,
time.
please, 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 please,
Yeah.
please, Texas, please, Texas,
my
vote
God.
for Colin Allred.
Yeah.
Please, please, please.
We're getting
because
hold on one
I'll
second. Let me
remi-
do this and then go
I'll
back
re-
to here and see if it fixes the choppy audio. This shouldn't be choppy audio, but it may be a
I'm gonna put this back in and
reset
see if they
YouTube
work.
thing. Mhm.
Wait
You're
a
fine.
second.
No, it's not you. Don't worry.
Are you sure?
Yep, pretty sure. Hmm.
I can hear you better now.
Oh,
Do
nice.
I sound better?
Well, yeah, and you now
Okay,
are.
great.
I can tell you're using the mic in your actual earphones now, so they connected. So there you go.
Good. Well, now they're actually working. Thanks, Tim Apple.
Yeah.
Okay.
Refresh your pages,
So
guys, if you have a
anyway.
problem on YouTube, because that's one of the.
I'm so
that might be
sorry.
the issue. It's not. No, it's not
I'm
you.
so sorry.
I'm saying it's a
Oh,
downstream
it's not
thing.
me. Okay.
Now
What were we saying?
my thing is, I genuinely believe she is trolling for bigger fish, and considering the
I'm gonna
richest.
pick her up now.
You're kidding, right? It doesn't
Well,
matter.
oh wait, we went to Colin Allred. We already went. Yeah. Well, first of all, we all know that Lauren Boebert was paid for and planted there, and she's
Mhm.
passed around before that happened.
Oh, dear.
And there's
Thanks,
she was
Carl.
going to sue. She was going to sue American Muckrakers for bringing that up, and now
Right.
she's not suing them, so because they found something real, I guess.
Right.
And
Well, that's
which is an important thing, I think, because there was a time where a sex scandal would end somebody's political career, not start it. So, right?
Well,
'Cause we live in the most abnormal times. And moving on to her daddy sponsor, Ted Cruz, drill, baby, drill. Ted Cruz, we already know how worthless and useless and hated and vile and disgusting, and how he's Donald Trump's permanent toilet and bidet. He also introduced a bill to keep term limits to two terms in Congress, and then immediately ran for a third Senate
Sure.
term. So there's that. But I happen to think that one of the more
Can you
egregious things Ted
you imagine your entire reelection campaign is based on send me back to Washington so I can install term limits. That is your as a cause celeb, I find that particularly hilarious and ironic.
but it's another example of Republican gaslighting, because
Right.
all of their gaslights are broken, and we'll get to Nancy Mace's in a moment. But
Mhm.
what I want to tell everybody about Ted Cruz that they might not know, and I don't understand why it didn't become a bigger story, but last spring when I was still being paid to write about politics, which I currently am still not, hashtag
Mhm.
hire Tara, I wrote a story that really bothered Ted Cruz's staffers who went after me for writing the "How dare I write the truth?" They sent out a fundraising text for Ted Cruz using an image of Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan DA, instead of Colin Allred, because Ted Cruz thinks all black men look alike.
Yikes.
So if I'm in Texas and I'm looking at Ted Cruz and you have Colin All, come on. Colin
Mhm.
Allred is a good human being. He's done a lot of great work, and I know what he looks like. So, it's another example of Republicans just being fucking awful
Right.
because they're happy to use anybody as a scapegoat, anybody as a pawn. They will step on anyone's neck to get ahead and then deny that they did it. It's, and making up a false narrative to try to make yourself look better. All of that shit that's all they have is this manufactured bullshittery
Right.
over and over and over. And we saw it after the State of the Union with Katie Britt using that story about the woman who had been sex trafficked. She The way she made it made it sound like she sat down with this woman and it had just happened and it happened in the
Right.
Biden administration and it's Joe Biden's fault.
Mhm.
It happened under George W. Bush. It happened
Right.
during George Bush's presidency.
Right.
That's a humongous lie. And Katie Britt lied. She hasn't apologized. She's actually doubled down and said,
Mhm.
I did talk to her and I did say this and I didn't say that. And it's like, we have you fucking on film saying you did this. Stop
Well,
saying
I
we're
gotta
not hearing
say,
and seeing what we're hearing and seeing.
I think the biggest scandal, if there is one about this horseshit made up story that she had, is that she told it in defense of a man, Donald Trump, who would deport that woman, that
Who
would
is also a
deny.
rapist himself.
Right.
You
Well,
keep defending a rapist.
sure, but I literally, I don't know why she thought telling that sob story would somehow be in defense of Biden or Trump or Republicans' border policies, when it was actually a defense of fucking what Biden wants to do, which is grant a woman like that asylum so that she has a chance to live a life in freedom and not have to go through that shit again. Secondly, the dude who murdered the girl in Georgia, allegedly, the guy who was here, came through as part of a family unit with a woman and her kid, as either posing as, and it's kind of, we don't know the details of it, but
Mhm.
posing as the dad of the child, or was the boyfriend of her as she came into the country and that kind of stuff. And then they split up, and he went to meet a buddy of his in Atlanta, who had been
That's what
given
you
an
get.
ankle monitor, had been released on bond on, I think, on a drunk driving or something like that, and had gotten
Mhm.
and robbery, and had gotten an ankle monitor, was supposed to go back to jail, and he knew he was going to be deported. You know, whoever was watching him, I want to say in New Mexico or wherever he was, he split. He cut it off and ran to Atlanta. And these two guys met there, and that's where this act happened. Neither one of them were in some sort of magical protected status by Biden. Neither one of them were sort of, they avoided the law. They were criminals, but not because they had come in, but what they'd done when they got here. And the people that,
Right.
and how they came in, especially the guy who allegedly did the crime, was part of a family unit, was the keeping the families together. So
Right. And then there was also the fact that I think the very last executive order that Trump signed before vacating had to do with asylum regarding Venezuelans. And I don't know the exact wording of it, but it was something that somebody shared yesterday or the day
mhm,
before regarding the reason that that particular individual was even able to get into the country in the first place was under a policy that Trump allowed at the very last minute before he walked out of the White House.
right.
So it's actually Trump's fault.
Yeah,
So if you're going to
and
use
that
a
was
woman as a
about
political
socialism.
prop,
Right.
yeah, pick a
That,
better
yeah.
woman to use as a political prop. You couldn't use Ashley Babbitt. So you found Laken Riley. You won't speak her name again now. You got Joe Biden to say her name at SO2.
Mhm.
And what are you going to do? Same old nothing is what you're going
Right.
to do.
Right.
So, if you really cared, Katie Britt worked on the writing, helped write the border bill, and then immediately voted against it. Please don't feed us this bullshit and tell us it's pizza.
Right.
Like, don't do that, because like, it was really easy for a journalist to find out the true story and then blow it up. And I'm really grateful that there are still journalists doing journalism when other people won't, Kristen Welker. So it's fine.
Right.
On the other side, we have thank you. I just want to say a blanket thank you to George Stephanopoulos for still doing his job correctly. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for
Well,
holding Nancy Mace's feet to the fire yesterday, because it matters what the American public hears, and that
right.
they hear the truth,
And
and that
speaking,
he didn't back down either,
right.
which is what Republicans expect when they go into these interviews. They expect fluff, they expect a platform to spew their bullshit without any pushback. And now Nancy Mace is saying that George Stephanopoulos was shaming her. No, he was not. He was
Right.
simply doing his job to make sure the truthful narrative was the one that was breaking through. So if you're a victim of sexual assault, if you can use the hashtag #MeToo and not be lying about it, these
Mm-hmm.
things matter. And when people bring up false rape accusations as a way to negate legitimate ones, like, we're not going to go all the way into the weeds of that. What matters is that Donald Trump is an adjudicated rapist, and it was decided by a jury. And
Mm-hmm.
2 judges now have spoken in court on the record saying, yes, a jury found Donald Trump liable of sexually assaulting, which is a fancy way, 2 words of saying rape instead of, use rape instead of sexual assault, which is 2 words. It's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So if Nancy Mace, as a rape victim, I believe her when she says she's a rape victim. She was very adamant
Mm-hmm.
about sharing her story.
Right.
Her rape is not more valid or worse, or it's not a contest, Nancy. Rape is rape. It's an act
Mm-hmm.
of violence. You were a victim of an act of violence. So is E. Jean Carroll. Not
Mm-hmm.
one is better than the other. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter if he was adjudicated in a civil trial or a criminal trial. Rape is rape, no matter where you were raped or how it was decided. So if you, as a rape victim, are claiming that your rape is more valid because it happened to you, a Republican woman, and you're in this moment also defending a Republican man who is an adjudicated rapist, what the fuck are you doing? What
Right.
are you doing, Nancy? And what you're doing is gaslighting. You're trying to blame it on George Stephanopoulos when you're the one who's shaming E. Jean.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to remove the word shame from the rape discussion, you have to lead by example. This is another situation where it's not an or, but an and. Nancy Mace can be the victim of a sexual assault and speak truthfully to it, and speak truthfully regarding E. Jean Carroll's sexual assault at the tiny groupie hands of Donald Trump. That
Right.
is what happened. It is a matter of public record, just like all of his other crimes. Everything is, you don't have to, again, we can go back to what I always say about the truth is you don't have to like it, but you do have to figure out a way to accept it.
Well,
And that's just how
okay.
the
So
truth
my
works.
agreed, but
Just say
my
that that your truth
my
is more valid or whatever. It's just
well, again,
Nancy, you're a piece of shit.
well, here's the thing: they're trying to control the narrative, and one on the Republican side to to run interference on the plan that they're laying out to control women through specifically anti-choice legislation that they want, and it doesn't stop there. And they're not talking about even Trump's bullshit mitigatory lie about 15 or 16 weeks. They're talking about the end of contraception. They're
Yes,
talking
they
about
are.
that. I mean, I would argue that if they managed to get Trump back in there and they were pushing this even further, what you're going to start hearing from them is we need to get rid of tampons because women started to get too much freedom when they could control their, the visibility of their period. So and there's an argument that one of the things that shifted, was when women could actually work in the world during their period and it wasn't a big tribal thing where they got to go stand over in the bushes and stay over there
Or
for 7 days and be
be in the
filthy or
bleeding
whatever.
hut. Yeah.
Right, yeah, whatever that shit. Once that ended, especially, and it became, way safer and way more common and stuff. And we'll get to the pink tax at some point on, as part of that argument. I have no doubt. But what they want to do is walk all that shit back. So women basically are tethered to the home. That it isn't about choice. It isn't about women having the ability to be an example for other women, or being able to achieve in the world at a level that is equal to a man's. Or that's not what they're going for. They're not saying,
no, they're going for the Handmaid's Tale.
That's right.
Going for.
They want women on a like one of those I don't know, electric shock leashes, where if you try to go too far stray outside the yard, you get a zap. And I mean that
start
metaphorically.
Tracking the periods of public school girls.
Exactly. That's, I mean, pervy as fuck, but
that.
Right. Never mind the idea that somebody like Mike Johnson, who wants to know when his adopted son is looking at porn and shares his own porn search history with his adopted son. Never mind that part. But that guy,
all of it though.
They want that guy to set the rules. It is not lost on me that those are the people that want to set the rules for women. Also have this other weird, like, hypogyno psycho bullshit idea about sexuality and fear, and it goes back to that kind of Alan Watts.
Why they feel that way? I wonder why they're all repressed freaks when it comes to sex.
Well, I mean,
just come on, parents, talk to your kids honestly about their sexual feelings, and how, as long as you have a consenting partner, your sexual feelings are normal and healthy, and you express them in a healthy way, instead of keeping them in so that nobody finds you in a motel room dressed like, I don't know, George Washington and his favorite hooker. I don't know what Republicans do. But what I know is when you repress something, when you hold something back, when you deprive yourself of something that feels natural and normal, it's gonna blow up in a bad way. I don't know,
because here's the thing. Alan Watts would say that the Christianity is the highest form of kink because nothing's kinkier than making sex dirty. And the idea is that some of these people wrap it up and make it naughty because that makes it more exciting. And I think Boebert and Marge, I would argue, their kind of sexuality and the sexuality that they represent within like Republican circles, which is this naughty toy idea, or this, she's the dirty wench that we all whisper about, but we pretend like she's an exemplary.
She does butt stuff.
Right.
Their wives won't.
Yeah,
right?
they will. But anyways, the point, yes, but by making it taboo, it makes it more exciting. And I've never understood that, because I'm
glad
not
I don't care about sex anymore.
Right. But that is the sort of sexual that baggage that they carry around, that psychosexual baggage that's always with them, which is why I bring up I'll throw in philosophically, intellectually, psychosexually, that I'll throw in the psychosexually as kind of a because it makes a prurient laugh.
It's all
out of it.
tied in.
But it's true. And I would argue that psychosexually there is more baggage in the Republican Party that they haven't dealt with, and that they will never have a functioning party until they do. And that's where we get into the Lindsey Graham world. Or, hey, remember all the Madison Cawthorn Coke party shit that was supposed to...
And
remember
he was fucking his cousin or something?
Right. Yeah, all that shit that was happening.
They all just get sued. And the Moms for Liberty and their throuple drama.
Right. It's amazing, because it's and a lot of it, is part of it why I don't fuck with that stuff and I don't understand it, is because it's largely very mean. A lot of it is based on sort of cruelty. However, it's it's so it's no surprise,
and all of the bad
right
things.
So it's no surprise that you have somebody like Nancy Mace, who's been through a horrible trauma, who's I guess maybe we blame Republicanism or MAGA-ism as a thought form, like being in Koresh's cult or some shit like that, where she is justifying her trauma through her support of the the very kind of monsters that put her in that position and would do it to other people, and that's the part. Yeah,
that's hard. But at the same time, if you watch her interview, she's almost flirtatious at times with George Stephanopoulos. She's very aware she's on camera. She very much wants to be on the VP shortlist for Donald Trump. So she's there with her she got all glam. She wore her sparkly earrings. She's wearing her, fan, she got really glammed up to go on. Elise Stefanik has also undergone a makeover recently, and Christy Nome just got Alina Habba's face. So, like, they're all
going to
doing
look
this
like
serious.
they're all going to look like Kimberly Guilfoyle eventually, which
Well,
is
Ivanka's starting to look like her too. So, just what Nancy Mace was doing yesterday was playing up her sexuality while she was trying to also come across as a victim of sexual abuse. And it was a very mixed message, which is very on brand for Republicans, because it was shame a Democrat while looking cute enough for Republicans to feel a little turned on by me,
right,
which is gross. And she's accusing George Stephanopoulos of being gross. And again, every accusation is a confession when it comes to the Republican Party and all of the Trump and there you go. Oh my God, you just turned into it.
It's yet to come.
That's unreal. Wow.
Yeah, and the irony that it's
terrifying.
Yeah.
But and again, how does anyone look at that Trout face and go, yes?
I don't know.
I want that. I want that kneeling in front of me. Why? Why would you want
I would
that?
say it's the same people who
It's gross.
look at somebody putting Donald Trump's head on Sylvester Stallone's body from 1984 and going,
yeah, no,
totally.
He doesn't look like that.
Nope, never did.
Like that.
Never has.
Nope, never looked like that. He is so gross with his bad makeup. And the other day he was making a speech somewhere. He was just like,
yeah.
Stopped for a second. If Joe Biden doesn't do that, by the way, Joe Biden fucking kicked ass at SO2.
Yeah.
He was on fire. Sleepy Joe was nowhere to be seen. That was all dark Brandon energy. And the Republicans had nothing. So what did they do? He's angry. Boy, they don't like it when people get angry. Like Nancy Mace couldn't get too angry yesterday because then she wouldn't look pretty. But it's okay for Donald Trump to be like, rah, 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 rah. It's okay for him to be angry. For him to be a rapist. It's okay for him to be a liar and a fraud and a grifter, because the hypocrisy is enormous. But Joe Biden was fucking amazing. And you know how he did it? All he did was tell the truth about all of the accomplishments of his administration. Fancy that. And when the Republicans tried it with him, he was like, yeah, do you want to give me back the money I gave to your district? Because I'll be happy to take it back from you.
Right. That was probably that was my
single for everything.
Well, that was my single favorite part of it. And I have to say that I was shocked, as a lot of people were, and I'm so glad that staff of Lawrence's show watches my show. Hi, but
Hi, Lawrence.
He was the only other person that pointed out that Biden made them walk into the same rake as he did in the last SO2, and he just fucking dog walked them right into that rake, and they went willingly. As a matter of fact, when he walked in, I think part of that, like, whoa, when he saw her, he knew. They showed him a picture like, you look at this crazy nut, because they were late getting over there because there were protesters who want Donald Trump to carpet bomb Gaza, apparently. I guess they really want Trump to get in there.
We don't have any time to go into how all of the wrong is happening in that
Jesus
case. But anyway,
Christ.
continue.
But anyways,
Jesus
they blocked
fucking Christ.
So he had extra time to get over there. He was in the car while they're looking at it, and I'm sure somebody went, you look at what Marjorie Taylor Greene's wearing. Like, holy shit. And so he knew she was, when he got there, he was like, hey, like, he knew when it was very
much that, did you get dressed up for Pop? Look at you. Like, how cute.
That's what I was saying. It looked like somebody who forgot it was, you forget it's Halloween, and you go to answer the door, and there's a bunch of kids in terrible costumes on your stoop, and you're like, hey, you guys look great.
Look at you. I don't know what to say.
We have some Brussels sprouts or something we can give these kids, So it was, but when he got up there, he knew, they knew walking in, that they were going to be like this. And now they're so predictable that he could count on it. He knew that there were at least, and the speech was written as a way of flicking their noses right out of the fucking gate. First of all, I appreciate that he brought up Ukraine right in the very beginning and got a clap out of fucking Johnson in the beginning. But the rest of the time he's there, like, he knows they're going to boo about this. They're going to say some shit about this. They're going to talk smack about this, and they're going to bring this like this thing up. And even the father whose son died in Afghanistan, who yelled U.S. Marines, U.S. Marines, U.S. Marines, and was taken out of the room. Like, I feel terrible for that guy. He lost his son, but at the same time, I wish somebody would unbreak his heart a little bit and make him not think the entire U.S. government is against him, which is what the maggots are doing to this guy. They're basically tormenting him that your son's killer is getting away with it. That's the language they use with this fucking guy. Yeah, he was arrested because he was physical with people on his way out. But I mean, again, you've lost your child. I can imagine the what, you know, like the flaying of your skin that would feel like, you know, like whatever, and it carries with you. That wouldn't surprise me, but it's the Republicans that are torturing that guy, and
of course it is.
He was killed. He was killed by an ISIS-K explosion that the Taliban let through. You know, the guys that Trump let out of prison, that they let through to stop Afghans from fleeing the country, to stop the brain drain that was happening to the country, because Afghans who have half a fucking brain are like, I'm leaving. I'm going to Pakistan or Iran or America or the UK. I'm getting the shit out of here because I have daughters and I want them to live. And so they, you know, they let this person through, in my opinion, to let that bomb go off, to scare people from going to the airport, essentially. Kill a bunch of people, and then nobody wants to fly out that way. And that's exactly what happened. A lot of them had to flee on foot or by car to the Pakistan border or the Iranian border. And when Trump talks about, it's the worst border we've ever had, nobody's ever even seen a fucking border like this. I got news for you. The fucking Pakistani and the Afghan border, you know, and the Iranian-Afghan border, after the fall, I mean, that's the border. That's you see the footage of people just stampeding across that. There's like 1 million plus people in Pakistan that they're trying to push back into Afghanistan now. So, he was president. He doesn't even know what the fuck is going on. That drives me nuts.
He never had a clue as to what the fuck was going on. By the way, not to distract from the severity of what we're talking about. Every time you wave your hand, it looks like you're feeling me up.
Oh, sorry. I thought it disappeared.
It's the most action I've gotten since my mammogram. Anyway.
Yeah, right. Appendicitis. I'm sorry. So
anyway.
Right.
Anyway,
it's I really
use anything for scare tactics. Scaring and fear and all of that is a big part of it. If they can make it seem scarier here, of course they'll do that too. Mm-hmm. So that's why in like Katie Britt's every SOTU response, I think if you went back in history and looked at it, probably every Republican SOTU response contains some sort of scary story that really has nothing to do with anything, because they don't have any way to respond when a Democrat speaks the truth. So, but and going back to what Joe Biden knew walking in to SOTU, he and the obstruct, like, it, and the Republicans were going to say whatever they were going to say to distract from the fact that he killed it. They can't say, oh, he's angry. Well, they use the angry narrative with Hillary Clinton. They use the angry narrative when anybody, you know, raises their voice, but it's okay if Donald Trump yells and screams and calls people names. And he was defaming E. Jean again as recently as this weekend. So
it's just like an ATM for her. I don't know what the fuck. And here's the thing.
And today is when she decides what she wants to do about this whole bond thing, because she gets to tell the judge. He's going to lose it. Big time.
He's good. And
big time.
And I look, there's been a bunch of stuff with, you know, Trump just continuing to dig a hole. And one of the things that I forget who said, somebody brought it up on Twitter, that like all of a sudden Trump is going after DeSanctimonious again. He's just calling him that, even though he'd retired the Ron DeSantis slams because DeSantis dropped out and supported him before Haley did and stuff. And he's like, now I like him and it's fine and we're quits and it's all good and we're buddies again. And DeSantis lined up behind him and was saying that. And it all of a sudden he starts doing it again. And one of the people that I saw on Twitter was talking about how the day before Trump started calling him DeSanctimonious again, he made it a law that they're going to release, DeSantis is going to release all the Epstein grand jury testimony. And so it's his decision apparently it was his decision to do that. It seems that DeSantis's decision to release that grand jury testimony about Jeffrey Epstein, of which, by the way, Donald Trump is the single most connected politician in the world to, for all the whole, like, he's a spy and he blackmails people and Mossad and blah, blah, blah. The single biggest connection to the political world that Epstein had and ever had was Donald John Trump, a man who, for whatever fucking reason, always needed to live less than a 20-minute car ride from his house. Epstein and Trump, whether it's Manhattan or fucking West Palm Beach, it's a big fucking country, and magically this motherfucker always needs to be an Uber right away. Also, one of the victims, it turns out, was working in the spa at Mar-a-Lago. So she was like trained up underage, and then he
who are the groomers again?
Yeah, and then he trades her off basically to Mar-a-Lago, for fuck's sake. Like, Jesus
But
Christ.
Joe Biden is 81. So.
Right, yeah. But Joe Biden's angry. You goddamn right he's fucking angry. They're trying to take away women's rights. They're trying to, like, run interference for, pharmaceutical companies that want to stop. Look, I get proprietary drugs, but for fucking insulin, are you fucking kidding me? Get the fuck out of here. And then supporting Russia.
They want to make cuts to Social Security and all of the programs that make America America.
Right. They want to gut them. Fucking public education. They have this, the narrative alone on student loans and them shitting on people for, like, him on Biden, like he's a fucking communist because he's forgiving loans for cops and nurses and firefighters and EMTs, people who go into public fucking service, right?
He also just is having credit card fees cut. Like, if you're late fees, they now are never going to be more than $8.
Right. And they never had to be. They were literally making a profit on them, which incentivized them to not build a system where they let you know if you're close to your limit or if something was coming in that would draw you down or any of that stuff, or like working people who have and then, God forbid, the bank or the company or whatever in any particular arena owns, a chunk of a prevailing interest in or supports or is, in business with the company that, you work for, the major company, and they slow roll their payroll loan that they have so that they can't pay you in time, so that your boss goes, your paycheck's going to be delayed a week because I couldn't get my loan or whatever, and they get fined and you get fined on top of that, and because the bank could just decide your boss's credit isn't good anymore for a little while. That's what happened post 2008. There was a shit ton of that had fuck all to do with the actual solvency of a company. There were companies that had nothing to do with real estate, weren't tied up in any of this shit, had their credit lines cut, which is how they rolled their payments for their employees and built stock. They were all those credit lines were just cut for the fuck of it because credit is bad right now. My
credit's bad right now. It's fine.
Well, yeah. I have actor credit. I hear you. But you know what I'm talking about, though. Like they literally.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about for sure.
Yeah, and so they knew a lot of these people wouldn't be able to pay their, or they would be overdrafted because of it, because they could tell they know who works for what company you work for and stuff, and then boom, we can make $20 on every late charge. It costs us $8 to claw the money back, right?
Right.
But we could charge $35 and just keep the rest.
Pad it all up. Yep.
Right.
Yep. I don't know. Can you hear any of the noise that's coming from outside of my? Not good, because the crazy man is back. The crazy man who yells "fuck." I think. Well, he basically what's happened, and
don't talk about me like I'm not here.
Well, when you're here in September, hopefully I'm living someplace different. But
sure.
I have to get out of this apartment is the bottom line, and I only have a few weeks to give my notice, and then my lease is up on May 13th, but I have no money, which is why we have to get this to go viral very, very quickly. Because yesterday, or the other day, he was outside yelling "fuck, fuck, fuck," which he often does, but he was also threatening to kill people. And if I had needed for any reason to walk out the front door of my apartment building, I would have been unsafe, because the area that I live in pre-pandemic was the most prestigious part of Portland, downtown, to live in the Pearl District. And now I live essentially at the corner of Stabby and Fentanyl. And it's just not safe. And it's not a viable place for me to live. But at the same
Thanks,
time,
Antifa.
yeah, it was all Antifa's fault.
Mhm.
So between the fentanyl crisis and the homeless crisis and the fact
Mhm.
that we don't have enough police, and
Mhm.
Portland needs a big do-over. My friend Viva Las Vegas is actually now running for mayor, so I'm super
Right.
psyched for that. But the bottom line is, people who are watching and paying attention to your live stream, this is the best thing I've ever written in my entire life, and it matters to
So
me
far.
so much. So far, I mean, the sequel is shaping up. So there are a few ways that you can help the little match girl of the internet here. Go to taradublinrocks.com. You can buy it in paperback. It's free if you have Kindle Unlimited. It's only $10 on Kindle. You can also sign up. If you sign up for a paid subscription on my Substack, there are 3 different paid Substack, taradublin.substack.com. If you do the founder subscription, I will name a character after you in my follow-up to The Sound of Settling, which is called Heavy Meddling, because I love a pun.
Sure.
If you get so that's at the founders. I won't just name a character, but I'll give you like a really cool description. Like, maybe you're a rock star, maybe you do this, maybe you do that. My friend Bobby Longo is now in the book, and he owns the coolest recording studio in Hollywood. See what I can do for you? If you go at the $80 level, you get to give me a song title, and I'll write a song and put it in the book for one of the many musical characters. If you can only afford the $8 version, that's 2 copies a month, you will at least get a sneak peek, and you'll get to comment, because I have made my comments paid only, because I'm starting to get MAGA trolls on my Substack now. So that's fun. But supporting a struggling, good human being is good karma for you. And I don't want to hand out. I want to work for a living. I would love to get back on the radio here in Portland. There's another radio station who's just scorched the earth. They have no one on the air, and they're jukeboxing it right now because they don't know what to do.
Right.
Hire me. I will make you money. It's not hard. I need a literary agent and an option and a fucking miracle to occur. Also, if Dave Grohl could just read this book, that'd be super de-duper. So
there you go.
I don't know. By the time I talk to you again, maybe something different will have happened in my world. You never know what can happen in a week in this country, or even in a day. So I'll just leave you with that, as you have to welcome in Handsome Bob shortly.
Yes, I do. That's it, and he'll be with us in just a moment. I think he has the new link and everything, right? Bob does. Andrea, I want to make sure that.
Time.
Yeah, I think so.
You
should be all right. Yes, indeed. Hold on one second. I'm going to make sure.
I have a blurb from Cameron Crowe. Does that matter to anybody? It should.
Of course it does. Hold on. There you go. And okay. All right. Hold on.
What if I use the Tradwife voice, the baby Fundy voice?
No.
What if I talk like this?
Oh,
and
God.
I'm really earnest, and my children are starving because in this new economy, it's.
I gotta say,
I don't know how to do that.
You could probably get work as a phone sex operator. I mean, that's a
thank you, please.
It's real work.
No, voiceover work. Yes, I would be vomiting in my mouth if I had to say anything dirty. I am on Cameo though, so if you want a message sent to anybody about political truthiness,
is it Tara Dublin Rocks on Cameo?
I think it's just Tara Dublin. But I think I'm the only Tara Dublin on Cameo. So if you go there, yes, please do that. It might be Tara Dublin Rocks. I wasn't prepared to do that. Hey, it's Handsome Bob.
There he is. He's in the background.
There
he's hanging out. Well, I'll bring him in just one second.
Kisses to everybody. Mwah, send him big love. Big love.
Just to remind everybody, TaraDublinRocks.com. Check out her Substack, and of course, The Sound of Settling.
Have a good chat with Bob, and I'll see y'all soon.
I insist. Okay. Bye. There she goes. Ladies and gentlemen, how do we do it? It's just crazy. Hold on. I'm going to copy the link, and I'm going to bring in our dear friend, Bob Seska. I've got to pop him in there we go, and put this in here, and then and then I make a click, and then I hit the paste, and then I'm wearing, I have to say, there he is.
There we go.
I feel like Bob, of all people, can appreciate the T-shirt I'm wearing today. Considering the background that I have,
Yes, of course.
Right.
I love it.
Yeah. I may have to do like full themed thing. We may be moving in a direction just to draw more attention to the show where I'm straight up wearing a spacesuit on this set, and then in other sets I'm just going to be, whatever individual character. I'm going to have to at some point find out like how I'm going to be like I'm going to have an entire set I was in the Denver airport yesterday and I almost found the UN elevator, Bob. I almost found it. I was groping around the big mural and I think I found out the line, but then they carted me off. They said, "You're going to miss your flight." I said, "I can't." So, yeah.
And you got to talk about thermite paint. If you're going to do Jesse the Body, you got to talk about the thermite paint in the World Trade Center building.
Absolutely.
6.
The whole place was a bomb, Bob. Don't you understand? No one would build a building that big that could fall over and crush the buildings around it. Of course you'd build it to detonate from the inside down. I think all the billionaires that own the other properties had a little meeting in one of those smoke-filled rooms that I cause. I don't know if you know that, but everywhere I go, there's a cloud of smoke. Mostly
Jesus,
stuff I bought in Baja.
Oh God!
Fantastic.
I
Bob
I
Seska,
hope,
everybody, give it up for him. We're glad to have him. And you know how
I
mean
hope
that.
everyone who watches this stream every day understands that you're like the Ernie Kovacs of streaming political
high
commentary.
praise.
Well,
My
it
God,
is enormous praise because you're doing stuff with this show that I've never seen on any other streaming show ever. Like what you just did. I mean, that was
Right.
an amazing thing. I once saw you like composite yourself between two people sitting on a panel on a cable news show.
Yes.
Just on the fly. Like, okay, I'm just going to do this thing. And here I am sitting between these two people making asses of themselves.
Yeah, I built a set thing just for that. If it ever comes up again. And it's almost like they're fucking with me. Like they don't want to do it anymore. That no one's going to that wide shot anymore. Like Sparks will just jet himself in the middle of this shit and sit there and go, "I have a quick question real quick while I pause you. While you're being completely insane and totally full of shit, one moment, ma'am. Yeah, that was great.
No one else green screened Katie Britt's shirt.
I saw somebody. I was reposted all over TikTok by people who were like grabbing pieces of my broadcast of her with the fucking Dark Brandon and then Trump and Epstein on the airplane and then I had the sexy liberal ad there at one point. Like, I mean, how do you not? I feel like I'm on a one-man mission to get people to stop wearing green on television, you dumbasses.
That's right. I mean, when are they going to learn, goddammit?
When will they
This
learn?
Is just an invitation. It's an invitation for chaos.
I try to fucking tell them. Hey, motherfuckers. I try to fucking tell them. Do they listen to me? No. Just wear green again, motherfucker. Wear green again. Wear green again.
See, Greg Gutfeld isn't turning himself into a cupcake on his show, like on the fly, spontaneously. Just not.
He started out that way, if you know what I'm saying. No.
Oh God, so good.
That would be accidentally funny, and he couldn't even pull that off. You know what I mean? Jamie, put up that put up that thing on the big screen about the article I saw that Greg Gutfeld is actually funny. The less people laugh, the funnier he gets. Put that. Or did I smoke that? We have much. Yeah. We have so much to talk about, my dear friend. There's been so much between this and the last thing, and I felt like you of all people when Trump went with Russia and Iran. That moment.
Yes. Yeah, I was saying on my show that first of all, when that happened. And as I'm sure you know, every time he short circuits like that, his face convulses. It's like it's like the reason he short circuited is someone went up and slapped him in the back of the head as he's talking, and he goes,
"I want to I want to put in like a in between," and he's like, "When Russia and Iran."
It's like he's suddenly surprised by the fact that he glitched for a second there, and then this time he couldn't recover. And that's the thing that I've been noticing excuse me, more and more often with his short circuits is not only that they're happening more often, It's just that he can't recover as well as he used to a couple of years ago, where he used to immediately retcon it into, oh, I meant to say that because this is the word that I
the
was intending to
furniture
say
and
all along.
future,
Right.
right? That
And
was
then he'll wind it into whatever he's saying. But now when he glitches out, that time when he was talking about Russia and Saudi Arabia, he just did the Napoleon Dynamite sigh. It was just like,
oh, what'd I do? Oh.
Yeah. And we forget that the broader context of him talking about that was in the midst of this brainwashing thing that he does with his audience every time he does a rally. With that music, the somber, it was like, I was describing it to Fugelsang the other night as that when Mike Tyson used to come out before his fights, there was that one note that would play as Mike Tyson was coming out. It was like this ominous one note as Mike Tyson was walking to the ring. And it's kind of like that kind of music playing behind Trump as he's going through his list of grievances, which now are kind of devolving into bad 80s stand-up comic territory. Like, I keep expecting him to talk about airplane peanuts and all of his rally crowd going, yes, the goddamn airplane peanuts.
He's straight up doing like old lounge singer things. Even when he started talking about love at one point. There's no love in the world or whatever. And it sounded like somebody who was about to sing, My Way in a lounge in Vegas. That's the problem, kids, today. We got no love anymore. That's the thing right there. When the shark bites with his teeth, Sammy, everybody would give him some love. It's so, it's like there's a fucking car crash of the really limited social references, like just kind of pop culture references that have put little fish hooks into his brain over the years, and he's been dragging them, and the string has just gotten shorter and shorter over time, and they don't make sense. They don't work together. They just
it's just a list of things. There's nothing.
The horror. I swear to God, he's now doing. I was joking about it in the beginning. He's now doing Marlon Brando in the monologue from fucking Apocalypse Now.
Lahara, no, you have the right to come to me, but you don't have the right to assassinate me. You're an errand boy.
That's right.
The horror.
Just complaining about like wrong number dialers, stuff like that. Like
totally.
This so
and you
sad
try to
about
take
it,
a shower and the water's like pissing on it's like 9 hamsters pissing on your head and you're like, yeah, this will get me clean. Am I right, folks? Anyways.
I wonder how, and maybe you have some more insight into this. Do the people in the rally crowds, do they actually go, yeah, when I go and turn on the sink, nothing comes out. There's no water there because of government regulation. Or do they just go along because they know that he's just trolling people? Is that
they
it?
leave?
What's the
half of them leave. Half of them leave, and the only that's when everybody's like, "Oh fuck it, he's talking about the water." I gotta. It's like you're. That's when you know for sure your team is losing. You know that moment where the other team's up, and you're like, "We could come back from this. We could come back from this." And then the other team hits it like a line drive, like a home run, bases loaded, and you're like, "All right, let's go to the car." But
it's like when they bring all the second stringers into the game,
right? You're like, we're fucked. Let's go. That happened when that starts. That's when that crowd knows to leave. It's why he started playing the music, because that was like they were starting to file out, and it was like, what's this? And it's like a performance art piece that like they feel like they're supposed to watch, and it's got this kind of like neo-evangelical, Christic, prophetic preacher thing that they all do. I'm sure he saw it when he went to Osteen or one of these fucking, Skank Kuhneman or any of the guys on Flashpoint. The go to their churches, they do the same fucking thing. They got a dude playing a keyboard behind them as they do stuff. It's altar call music. Handy Girl says, that's exactly what it is. Are you going to come?
I'm surprised it took them so long to get to this place, because they've been cultivating the sort of tent revivalist, faith healer kind of vibe, the televangelist thing, the mega church, the kind of framing of politics for years now. I remember Glenn Beck doing that at his 5 o'clock slot on Fox News Channel, kind of going down that road, that sort of, reach out and touch your TV screen and then give me $1,000 of your hard-earned money, and using all kinds of trickery, plays on emotions, and all kinds of psychology happening and exploited to kind of coax these people to kind of tap that part of their reptile brain the
Yeah.
same part that gives all of their life savings to faith healers, for example.
Right.
And the Republican Party has been able to tap into that mindset. And it's actually, I've always said how that you and I and the normals, generally speaking, are
Aw,
not
that's
the
sweet.
victims of Donald Trump's con. It's Donald Trump's
No.
fans. Donald Trump's fans are the biggest victim of his con than anyone else. It's
Jesus
whether
Christ,
it's
he
their
bailed. You look at bailing out Steve Bannon app for ripping them off. That is
yeah,
all you need to know.
right.
That he bailed out that motherfucker, and the crime that guy was convicted of was bilking maggots out of their money on a fake build the wall scheme. And Trump was
Yeah.
basically like, "Hey, that's my con." Right?
Right. And when
And
all these people discover that he's never going to ship these goddamn golden sneakers and their non-refundable
oh,
deposits or whatever they paid to
so
get
good.
themselves some of Donald Trump's sneakers,
They,
they're never going to see those sneakers. It's like when you see an ad on Facebook, you see an ad for shoes or pants on Facebook.
right.
7 months later, you get like a
Right.
garbage bag in the mail or something like that. And that's
Uh,
it's
I,
really a
you know,
huge scam.
dear proud American, we're sorry to inform you that the Houthis have sunk your gold sneakers as they were on
Yeah.
their way from China and to their shipping point in Egypt, where we have a special deal that we struck
That's
with one of
right.
Vladimir Putin's outposts. But better luck next time, and thanks for the money, asshole. Like,
Yeah, or they just send
feel
like
free
a
to
photo
sue.
of sneakers. Yeah, they're just gonna send a picture of
It's
sneakers to
NFT.
them.
These
Yeah,
are
exactly. An
actually
NFT.
in the fine print at the bottom of the fucking thing. It's going to turn out that they weren't. What
Yeah.
you were buying was a picture of those sneakers, and it like really the smallest fucking type ever. It says these are not
Yeah.
real shoes, so kind of unwearable by human feet. Which is small. This is a 2D image that is yours, one of many thousands that may or may not increase in wealth over time. Not marketing.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Oh fucking hell.
And plus, they can keep charging you whatever the cost of the sneakers were every month in perpetuity until you unsubscribe to the
Right.
sneaker thing.
Yes, and double on his
I'm
birthday
expecting
month.
that. Yeah,
Double on
because
his
that's
right.
exact. Didn't they do that with what was it, Save America Pack, where you signed up to give one time and it
Yeah.
automatically signed you up to give every month in perpetuity. So suddenly all of these red hats are like, wait, what, hang on a second. What happened to my checking account? Why am I overdrawn? Oh shit.
I remember
did
that.
this stupid thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Remember that, like that one a guy whose father was in Kansas, and he like his dad called him, was like, I can't pay my electrical bill. My bank account's overdrawn $3,000 or something like that. And his son went like digging around, like, oh my God, my father's been the fraud, and he thought his father had like gotten one of those phone calls where they trick you into turning over your social security number. He was diving into it. Just turned out he just gifted Donald Trump a one-time $500 donation about 3 months ago, and it had just sapped $500 every month. And then in June, it doubled it, and that was his entire fucking social security check. He was just fucking done. And yeah.
I was gonna say, I love these guys with the Trump bucks, buying Donald Trump's Trump bucks and then going to the bank and trying to deposit their Trump bucks, thinking that this is actual negotiable tender that they can go to their banks are like, wait, what are you trying to deposit? Is this monopoly money? Why is Donald Trump's picture on this fake money? And they're going, oh, hang on a second. Was I just completely screwed by Donald Trump? There we go. There he goes again. It's just like now they're just taking it as a matter of stride. Oh, that Donald. It's like going to your favorite diner, and their food always gives you some form of food poisoning, and you just keep going back because you know the place.
You know, it's magaria. I get it every time I eat here.
Yeah.
Just like it may, I'm bleeding from my ass for America. That's the way I look at it.
Right.
I honest to God, if you look at the crowds that are, showing up for his shit lately, he keeps bragging. He started again at bragging about his front row Joes again. The last one, he was talking about how there were like, I don't know, like these ladies are here, and they're this is their 110th rally or some shit like, and I'm like,
wow.
And this was at his Get Out the Vote gathering. And I'm like, motherfucker, you're not getting out the vote if you're importing people who can't vote in that area to fill up the fucking seats. If the
Yeah.
entire like first 10 rows are full of fucking psycho maggots deadheading around the country that don't vote, by the way, most of them don't. They first of all, who knows if they still have a fucking house? I don't know. They live in their fucking RV. Where are they registered? What the shit?
That's right.
Are they just gonna register within days of wherever he last goes to? Is that the idea? Maybe. But
Yeah.
but most of them
like
don't trust
deadheads
the.
for
Yeah,
assholes. Yeah.
they're gonna vote on on one day unless they run out of gas. In which case, fuck it, it's all rigged anyways. And
Mhm.
and then they're never gonna vote early. And they don't since they don't believe in mail-in ballots. I don't if they can't drive all the way home from his last, because you can't not go to the last rally before the election, wherever the
Yeah.
fuck that is, Philadelphia, or I guess he'll probably be like northern Pennsylvania and bumfuck Egypt, where those two guys that Giuliani took to court with him or whatever, that the Republicans that didn't have their votes counted because they weren't cleared because their signatures were thrown out because they mailed
Right.
in their ballots, and the maggot running the fucking vote system there through anybody who mailed in their ballots, like anybody, let's assume most of these are Dems, so just throw them the fuck out. And then Philadelphia and Pittsburgh are checking people, they're calling them up, and these guys were like, they didn't call us, so you should throw out all those people's votes because they didn't. Nobody checked our votes. Like, get the fuck out of here. Those people, they're gonna be. That's where he's gonna be.
Yeah.
He's gonna, or at fucking Mar-a-Lago, like just
Mhm.
knowing he's gonna lose. So why the fuck bother?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know what? It's a question I've had for a while now. Does he actually think that he's going to win, or is this just a straight up insurance policy? Like he's running just in case he can't wiggle out legally. He's going to use the power of the
Yeah.
presidency to wiggle out. I just get the sense that this is all about his legal defense and has nothing to do to
He
some degree
absolutely.
with being president. But if he does become president, well, then the game has changed, and suddenly that's when he starts to spin, Agenda 47 and Project 2025 into action, and that's where
Right.
it gets super dangerous. But I
Let's-
think a large part of what's driving him to do this is just the insurance policy. Like, okay, well, if I do this, if I'm able to become president again, then that's the best get out of jail free card I can possibly acquire, and it's not going to matter if it's a guilty
Right.
verdict in Fulton County or New York City. He's going to totally report for prison if he's sitting in the White House. That's never going to happen.
Right.
So that's one of the many dangers of him becoming president is he can get out of the federal charges or the federal convictions, and he can get out of the state and local ones too, just because of the power of the presidency.
Yeah, here's what I think. I think he thought he could bluff his way out just by running. I don't think
Yeah.
he has to act like he believes he's going to win, but he
Mhm.
knows he's not going to. There's
Yeah.
no fucking way. 1-to-1 Democrats to Republicans. There are more Democrats in the country. Period. End of fucking story. It may squeeze in certain states where you've got the electoral college, but by the numbers, if Democrats show up in mass, and especially women voters this time around aren't going to fucking phone it in, and anybody that gives a shit about them isn't going to phone it in, and he knows he's ice skating up a hill against it, and he's lost 30% minimum
Yeah.
of the Republican base. They're just not going to vote. And maybe they won't vote for Biden, but they sure as fuck aren't going to vote for him. And everybody who's voting for RFK Jr. or some other shit is a former Trump voter, period.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
So-
I love this ongoing underestimating of Joe Biden. And
Right.
and I say that from the perspective of someone who actually underestimated Joe Biden back in 2019, 2020. I was like, oh God, is this going to be the guy to go up against Trump? And I didn't realize what he had in him. And now, obviously, that I was disabused of that quickly when the
Right.
2020 election actually happened. But I think a lot of people are falling into that trap again. And I think what they don't understand, I think the observation about Joe Biden that doesn't get understood quite often, especially among the mainstream press, is the fact that Joe Biden deliberately decided when he became president that he wasn't going to be up in our faces 24/7 like Donald Trump was. And I think a lot of people took that to mean, oh, well, he's hiding. His handler, his assistants and
Right.
his staff, the West Wing, are keeping him hidden because he's old and feeble. And then suddenly he comes out guns blazing the other night And
Yeah.
but of course, because that's Joe Biden. That's what he does. He's a
Right.
creature of this sort of thing. And he was always going to come out of the chute, guns blazing, as the State of the Union being sort of the unofficial kickoff of
Of the
his
campaign.
2024
Yeah.
campaign. And it was wonderful to watch, but not surprising at all for those of us who understood that, yeah, you know what? He spent the last 3 years doing the work,
Yep.
not getting up in our faces, not tweeting all day long, not constantly, jamming himself between us and a video camera. It's just constantly doing the job of the presidency. And I think a lot of people were deceived by that for some reason, because they assume the worst. They underestimate him.
Right. And I said back when, in 2019, then into 2020, I told everybody it's going to be Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. That's how it's going to work out. I'm like, that's who it's going to be. Settle in. There's going to be a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth, but that's who it's going to be. And it's going to be good. And once they were, I was like, they're going to win it by a huge amount. And everybody was like, I don't know. I'm like, I'm fucking telling you. And so I stayed up all night, live stream for 24 hours, noon to noon, just to like fucking hold everybody's hands. I'm like, I'm here. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be all right. We're gonna make through this. And I was right. And I'm telling you again that one of the first things that Biden did when he came in is there's a thing that most presidents do, which is once you've come in and you've got the wind at your back and you've just won, quote unquote, a mandate or whatever, especially if you have a decent thing, is you go for your big policy, whatever you're trying to get done.
Yeah.
Right? Biden didn't actually have a lot of that because there was such kind of like awfulness from the Republican side. So there wasn't this kind of like, the old tacit early 90s, late 80s kind of idea that, well, okay, from Reagan into Bush 1 into Clinton, all right, we'll take it on the ass a little bit and we'll let you do your thing and see how it works out. There was none of that. So Biden knew he was ice skating uphill from the beginning. But he fucking got in there, and they got not only the rescue package, but which was the biggest green energy fucking bill that's ever been passed. Then the infrastructure bill, which on top of that, again, just the lead pipe shit alone is enough to change the culture of America for the better over the next couple of decades. You start ventilating indoor gun ranges, and all of a sudden the lead poisoning in this country is going to dry up, and we're not going to be dealing with these like Swiss cheese brain motherfuckers we have to argue with. But all of those things have a trajectory. It's the physics of a football. You're throwing it, and by the weight of it, the spin of it, and the speed and how hard you throw it, this is how long before it hits where it's going. And they knew this. And they knew that there was going to be inflation coming from the last year. It was going to suck for a while. But if we get this done right fucking now, and that's why they had to break up the infrastructure bill, and everybody was like, they should leave it together as the whole package. I'm like, nope, pass this shit now. Because the arc of this, if you wait any longer, the arc pushes it into 2025.
Yeah.
You do it right now, all the projects start happening, they start hiring people, the state hiring starts to play out into better wages for everybody, and then you start these projects rolling in a big way, and then you get these ribbon cuttings where these Republicans have to fucking stand there embarrassed going, isn't it great? And then
Yes.
I'm telling you, all fucking summer, August into September, you're going to see a bunch of fucking ribbon cuttings at finished projects, bridges, electrical, plants, all kinds of shit, airports. Holy shit. Like the changes in the U.S. airports in the last 2 years alone, because they've been waiting for this money. All the airports in the country have been waiting for this fucking money. That money got doled out immediately. That was the first thing out of the fucking gate. If anybody who's flown through Kansas City's airport knows what I'm talking about. Like it used to be the worst fucking flight experience I could possibly have was going through the Kansas City airport. And now it's like, oh, thank God, Jesus Christ. It's like a mall with a bunch of restaurants in it. This is fantastic.
Right.
I could have a 5-hour layover here. This is just fine. But that's how long it takes. And one of Biden's strengths is being here as long as he did. He knows how long shit takes, and he knows how much shit you have to eat while you're waiting for the result.
Yeah.
And
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And we, you know what? We've seen this before too. I think it was 2009. Barack Obama, the first bit of signature legislation that he passed was the American Recovery Act,
yeah,
which had all kinds of money to pull us out of the Great Recession. I mean, he single-handedly rescued the economy from a second
right.
Great Depression through that piece of legislation alone. And then what happened was subsequent to that is you saw all these photo ops with Republicans holding those big sort of Ed McMahon novelty checks, like the
Yeah,
gigantic big fake checks at their
yeah.
ribbon cutting ceremonies. And I remember blogging at the time and collecting those photos because there was nothing more. I mean, I know right now we're in the post irony, post hypocrisy era. Like none of that shit is irrelevant, or none of that shit's relevant anymore.
Right.
But yet, you know, it still continues to happen. And I'm glad to see that Joe Biden at least called them out on that shit during the State of the Union.
Oh,
Which,
because he's
yeah.
been he's mentioned before. Like I keep seeing them at the ribbon cuttings and that kind of stuff. But this is
Yeah,
the first
yeah.
time he said, "If you don't want that money, let me know, because they'll divert
Right,
it
that was
someplace else." It was so good.
that was pure Jed Bartlett. Pure
Mhm.
Jed Bartlett from that first debate against James Brolin in that
Right.
episode where he was running for re-election, and and Brolin's going off. I forget the character name, the Florida governor, and he was going off about unfunded mandates and things like that. And and Jed Bartlett comes back. Hey, look, if you don't want all this federal money that you're getting, can we have it back, please? That was the
Yeah.
big punchline, and that showed
Yep.
that Bartlett was being Bartlett and he came to play.
Yeah.
And it's the same sort of thing. And it was a remarkable thing. And you know what? Not completely surprising because they're so predictable. But Joe Biden for a second year in a row, rabbit season, duck season, those guys
Yes.
with the greatest of ease. Last year, he did it with Social Security, got
Yeah.
them to all go, no, we're not going to cut Social Security. He's like, okay, well, then we have consensus. Great. You're
Right.
not going to touch Social
Oh,
Security.
you're not gonna do that. Well, that's good to know. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, and as a comedian, as a performer, you got to understand the ability to be able to improvise something like that because it was unscripted, it was unplanned that Biden
Yeah.
was going to do that. He just kind of baited them into reacting a certain way, knowing they were going to do the opposite, say the
Yes.
opposite of whatever he was going to say, which makes it super easy. And then you can go, well, now I've got you. And he did it again. He did it again
Yes.
Thursday night.
He
with a
dog
similar
walked them
thing,
into that
Social
rake.
Security.
That's what I was saying. Like, by the way, meanwhile, Trump is.
That Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your.
That's it. So, Joe
Love
Biden
that.
tricks Republicans into like just rake stomping all night long. It was like 2 or 3
Yeah.
times where he's like, "You don't want a big tax cut? You don't want to do that again? Okay, that's great. Okay, and
You don't want
hey,
a
if
$2
you don't want the
trillion
federal
tax
money,
cut.
I'll take it back." Like several
Yeah.
times, and meanwhile, Trump is across town going,
That Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your.
"I just got to rib-a-duh."
I don't have any good skills.
She doesn't send me a full body shot yet.
You know what that was? That was fake sincerity, is what that was. Where he just went,
Yes.
oh, because he couldn't come up with some way to make that. He couldn't make that short circuit work, so he just had to go with, oh.
I don't know. I gotta say, like, it was such a fucking slam.
That Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your.
Like we'll rib-a-do and I like and part of it I was like, well, Saudi Arabia and Russia are what? Like but gonna recognize Israel? What are you talking like the point I really did, and I looked around trying to find the point he was trying to make about them, like them being partners again, or that they're gonna, maybe it was the petrodollar or some shit he was talking about, none of which is true. So that this was honestly, it was probably better that he just flamed out than if he actually said what was there, because it was whatever was in the teleprompter was fucking, it was so stupid, it was dumber than him going like shit. So,
well, you know,
glorious.
going back to what I was saying about the post-hypocrisy era,
Yeah.
he was going off. I think it was, I want to say it was Saturday night. He mocked Joe Biden's stutter
Stutter. Yeah.
right at the top. I mean, it wasn't just Joe Biden's feeble and he has trouble talking. I mean, he
Right.
actually did like this stammering, stuttering
He
voice.
said this State of the Union or whatever like that. Like he literally made it a stutter, as opposed to just saying they'd gotten away with it by basically making kind of slow, doddering, stammering Biden without going directly after his stutter specifically. Well, go ahead. Because one of the other things that struck me is he didn't actually stutter. That was the weird part.
Well, right. Well, and the thing is that I mean, it was horrendous, but the great
Grotesque.
irony is that he started his remarks by mocking Biden's stutter, and then proceeded to short circuit himself. Must have been a dozen times.
Yes.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was just watching Asen and Aaron Rupar posting clips, and it was one after another. I mean, I think he set a new record for short circuits, for glitches during that, and it started with him mocking someone else's speech pattern,
See,
which
and
was
that
amazing.
I would like to say that is precisely why, some people will, and I'm sure you get this too, like, why don't you go after Biden? Why don't you go after Biden for his shit when he says stupid shit? I'm like, because Biden has never said, I have the best words and I know more about this than the experts.
Mm-hmm.
Trump says that in every area, which for me is the comedy setup. You are, that is perfect comedy gold, is somebody making an exaggerated view of themselves and going, follow me, I know exactly where we're going. Wow, they just step off a cliff, right?
Right.
That's the and it's Warner Brothers level comedy. It's why Mr. Bean is an asshole. It's Inspector Clouseau, why he's a complete prick. Why he's funny is because he's a dick. Partly why Steve Martin's version isn't as funny, quite frankly, is because Steve's more likable than the character that Peter Sellers created. He's an asshole. Like he's so one of the best moments, and shot in the dark. If you haven't seen it, I'm sure you have, but if the audience hasn't, there's this great moment where he's spelling out what the crime is, and he's pointing it out on a board or whatever, and he goes, that's why I say Maria Gambrelli is innocent, and he breaks the stick on his partner, like he snaps it across his shoulder. He goes, you fool, you see what you've done? You've broken my pointing stick. I've got nothing to point with now. Like that. Like it's his fucking fault. Like he's a dick.
Right. Yeah.
He's an asshole. And that's the point. That's why you can laugh at him. If he just fell down a flight of stairs and he meant well, it'd be sad, not funny. And Trump is a fucking prick to everybody. And and make sure you know I'm king shit. When I walk into this room, you better know I'm the fucking business. And it's why there are knockout compilations from the UFC about guys who are full of themselves all over the internet, like the guys who walk out like trying to do the McGregor thing like that, and then just one hit and they fall over like a fucking sapling that's just been one chop, just there's a reason for that. There's a reason it's funny. It's because the guy talked shit, he fucked around, he found out. Trump is. They might as well call it Marafafo at this point, because this I just came up with that and I like it.
That's awesome. I love that.
Because that's really what his deal is. Like he fucks around and he finds out. That's his whole gig now.
Yeah, absolutely. And another, going back to irony once again, is I quote tweeted that clip of Donald Trump making fun of Joe Biden's stutter, and I said, there will be lines to piss on his grave. And I didn't say I'm going to piss on his grave. I just said, you know what? There are going to be lines. People are so sick of this guy and they hate him so much. There will be people lined up to take a leak all over his headstone at his gravesite, provided there's not massive security surrounding it to prevent that sort of thing. But then all of the Donald Trump supporters were like jumping into my mentions, calling me like a low-class a-hole, and completely missing the fact that their guy just mocked someone else's stutter. And that's just the latest in a long line of thousands of things that he's done exactly like that, whether it's period blood or someone who has a physical disability, like what happened in the 2020 or 2016 election.
that he mocked. Yeah, or
Serge Kovaleski.
Fucking Megyn Kelly for the second time. First of all, what the fuck was the "May she rest in peace" thing? Is it the idea that she was murdered? Like, I'd like to report a murder, kind of like I beat her in an interview kind of idea. Like, is that where he thinks he's getting from? Because I don't know where the fuck that came from. It was so out of left field.
Yeah.
And that
he's just a weirdo, and there's just no explaining a lot of the shit that he does. I always think, Hal, back to this clip that was circulating when he started to run for president in 2015. It was a clip from the Conan O'Brien show. I think it was the Conan O'Brien late night show.
Yes.
And where he was trying to get Donald Trump to participate in a bit with him. And so they had Donald Trump set up at a table, and they gave him a pitcher of water and an empty glass. And they said, okay, all you got to do, Mr. Trump, is pour the water into a glass. This is for this Conan O'Brien bit that he was participating in.
Right.
And instead of doing that, Donald Trump just took the pitcher of water and poured it out all over the table, and then looked at all the production assistants and so on sitting there going, isn't that funny? I just poured the water all over the table for no reason at all. Isn't that hilarious? And just stone silence, of course, like everyone's standing around off screen going, why did you just do that?
Right.
That's the kind, I always think of that as sort of the quintessential example of just how phenomenally weird Donald Trump is. I mean, beyond his physical appearance, he just has a fucked up look at what's right and what's wrong. He just, I don't know. He's on some other planet. He's so fucking bizarre.
Right. There's also this kind of odd thing where he desperately wants to be in on the joke sometimes, but he doesn't have the ego to be able to handle it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, he can't fucking deal with the idea that, somebody's making a joke out of him. So he's so fucking weak that he can't stand for it to let the joke ride out. So it always comes across as like awkward, or he's got to throw something mean-spirited back into it, or he's got to sabotage it, and the worst is when, I think in that case, he doesn't know if he's the butt of the joke or not. And so he can't let it stand. Right?
Yeah.
I don't understand the gag that's going on here. Everybody seems to be laughing, so they're probably laughing at me. So I'm just going to fuck this whole thing up and just go, I'm with you guys. Haha, this whole thing's ridiculous. And you've done Politicon, right? You've been to the Politicon thing. Have you been there?
You know what? No, I don't think. No,
Okay.
I haven't.
I did it once.
I went to Netroots once, but I didn't do Politicon.
Yeah. So I went once and I was never asked back. I'm very proud of that.
That's a shame. It's their loss.
I don't know.
Why were you not asked back? Is there a specific reason?
Well, maybe because I spilled some tea backstage. Maybe that was the idea, kind of, afterwards. Because Van Jones and Ann Coulter did a debate, and I mentioned, I think I was on Steph's show at the time. I mentioned that before they went out and after they came back, it was like watching wrestlers talk about what routines they were going to do.
Yeah.
And I I had never met Van Jones before. I knew Ann Coulter and her were, whatever, bullshitters for the most part. But I thought she was also a true believer around certain elements, right? And at that point, she was really tossing it towards the Trump zone. Like, she was real, she obviously left, but mainly because I guess he wasn't racist enough in some areas for her, or whatever the fuck. It's hard to even tell. But the point is that the two of them, it reminded me of the old Warner Brothers cartoon with the dog and the coyote at the end of it, where they would just fight and try to kill each other and do terrible things, and then go, "See you tomorrow, Sam." That, right?
Yeah.
It was that.
Yeah.
And I brought that up, and I saw Robert Davi there, but well before he made his stupid bullshit Hunter Biden movie that I covered on my channel, and he hit me with a copyright strike personally to get it taken down, so I wouldn't chop the shit out of his it's garbage. My audience is probably the only people who watch the whole fucking thing all the way through. But but the reason I bring it up is because Glenn Beck was there. And Glenn Beck had no idea who I was. Because he's an uncultured heathen, clearly.
Yeah, of course.
And
Yeah,
and has chosen a life of misery and avoids genuine comedy at all turns. So he'd never seen an I Love the, or certainly never watched Queer as Folk, and he didn't know any of the Charmageddon, which is his loss. But
Mhm.
Glenn was there. I made him laugh a couple times because I'm joking around the table and I'm just kind of feeling people out. I'm like, who the fuck are these people for real? Because after I'd seen the Van Jones and Coulter thing, I was like, did I just walk into like, is this the WWE of politics? Is everybody here full of shit? And so I'm testing the waters, man. And he joked a couple times, and then I started getting pictures. I got a picture with Davi. I'll grab him. I'll put him up later on my afternoon show. And I got a picture with Glenn Beck, and he's going like this, because he didn't know whether he could smile in a picture with me or not. Right? That was it. That was
Jesus.
if he was afraid that if he was caught smiling next to me in a picture, it would be a gotcha later.
Yeah.
And so he had to make a face. And I was like, that seems like what Trump is like most of the time. If he's with somebody at one of his things, he's like that. They must love me. You get your stank on, he gets his stank on you.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right? But if you're out and about and you get in there, like he's gonna, if he doesn't do the pose, that's him worried that he shouldn't be in a picture with you.
Mhm.
Like Lev Parnas or any of those guys where he would just kind of like, you can get pictures with fucking Rudy. I'll be over here.
Yeah,
That kind
yeah.
of shit. I just think he's a fucking lunatic. I don't think he knows. I think he's like kind of detached from normal human interaction. His family life is fucked up. His relationships are weird. Like who the fuck? Who buries
Yeah.
their fucking ex-wife on a golf course?
Oh yeah, well, there's God. I mean, we could be doing this list all goddamn day, and we
Right.
barely crack the surface. Yeah, yeah. But I wanted to add though too that a lot of these debates, and I would say most of these debates, like you were just describing, are entirely bullshit. It's like WWE nonsense.
Yeah.
There's nothing that's ever resolved. It's all kind of worked out ahead of time. And at the risk of getting banned by Politicon, I guess, you were exactly right to say what you said, because that's what they are. And whenever I see people saying on social media, oh, this guy should debate this person on TV and see what happens.
Right.
No, that's not going to solve anything. It's just going to be a show. And one of my worst fears is that there are more people than not engaged in the political conversation who do see it just as a game, as a show, as nothing but sports.
Yes,
and it's deeply concerning that there are, and I would say quite a few people in the mainstream, at least TV media, TV political press, that do think that it's just about the show. It's just about the ratings and whatever happens, as long as it's good for ratings, that's the end game. And that's what kind of keeps me up at night. Like, oh God, do they not know that real people are affected by this shit and how it could devastate lives? And one of the things that we saw where that actually applied, and I thought maybe it would shake people out of their torpor on these things, is whether it was 9/11 or the Great Recession, as we were just talking about, or COVID for that matter. And yeah,
this
elections
is
have
shit.
consequences.
Right.
Yeah, shitty, incompetent leaders give us situations like, in most recent examples, COVID and the devastation that we experienced. And it was revealing actually that Katie Britt, during her response, changed are you better off than you were 4 years ago to are you better off now than you were 3 years ago?
Right.
Did you notice that?
Yes,
she said
absolutely.
3 years ago.
Yeah,
because she had no choice but to rewind to 2021 when Joe Biden was president.
Right.
Are you better off? So they're piggybacking onto Joe Biden's first year because they can't say Donald Trump's last year in office.
That's right. Well, and that really stood out when they did the SNL skit about it. They said 4 years. They made they kind of, I think, made a more honest gag about that and didn't just let her, didn't try to thread the 3-year conversation like you just did into that and remind people that that's what she's doing. They just went straight for 4 because that's what most people, that's the actual phrase.
That's what Elise Stefanik said. Elise Stefanik said that just the other day. So I guess it still, I think, works as a bit of truth that was in that sketch Saturday night.
And also It's still true, though. It's still like, yes, of course we're better off than we were in the tail end of the pandemic in March of
No
2021.
kidding.
Before Biden got the rescue package passed, before the infrastructure bill passed, before we had, the vaccinations readily available for everybody. People forget we were fucking signing up for waiting lists to go and get your vaccine at different places and where they had it. And you could drive up and you'd have your little, your little like card to go, this is the last time I got it, and you'd sit there and we went to an auditorium here in Vegas to get ours. Summer and I did. And that was all during that time. So fucking course it's better.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, all you got to do is look at the difference between the 2021 Oscars and last night's Oscars. Where last night's Oscars, back to normal. They're back in the theater with
dance
the tuxedos
numbers
and everyone in the audience. Absolutely,
nobody's wearing a mask. Everybody's fine. But I thought we had.
Never would have happened.
I thought Hollywood and Soros were making mask mandates and vaccine passports the law of the land, and nobody shall do business without his mark upon their head or some shit, right? Isn't that how it was supposed to work out? Because none of that shit has worked out. Can we just say for the record, like, all the fear mongering, all the fucking QAnon shit, all the World Economic Forum, Great Reset, Nasara, Jassara, fucking Mike Flynn lunacy, none of that is true. Not a fucking stitch of it anywhere. And not because the people rose up and stormed the Capitol building and fought back. There was no January 6th about mask mandates or a forced vaccine passport, because it never fucking happened in the first place. Nobody was intending that shit. It was so fucking odd. And none of them will cop to it. Like, all of them are like, well, it's sort of it's like a subtle form. We're all slaves now, subtly. Like, okay, there's no such thing as subtle slavery, motherfucker. Ask a real slave. Get the fuck out of here. Like, what's wrong with you? It's
like the end of timesers, where okay, August 12th, that's when the world is going to end. Get ready, say your prayers, give me all of your money from your savings account, and then say your prayers, and then August 12th. Did I say August 12th? That's when the end of days is going to be. And then August 12th comes around and they're like, well, I meant September 14th. I'm sorry.
Right.
So we're
actually, it was August. August, it was 17th. I saw the 2. I thought that was a 2, but the leg was, somebody had scribbled it. I guess God was writing really fast, and he had a shitty ink pen, and he didn't quite fully lift it off the paper. So it should be a 7. It's my bad. And then the 17th rolls around. Also, the 1 is a 2. I see. So, sorry, it's the 27th. It will be right there. There was that guy around 2012 who was calling for the end of the world repeatedly. He had predicted this thing, and he'd done all the math in the Bible. Never mind, was it Matthew chapter 25, where it's like, no man shall know the hour nor the day, not even the Son will know, only the Father in heaven will know. And yet these fuckers are doing the math that even Jesus doesn't know when. I mean, he could be in the middle of snacks and like, the rapture. Oh fuck! Hold on.
Yeah.
But can I finish this one level? I'm just,
I mean, we see this all the time, Hal. And at some point, I think American voters have to start to call bullshit on it. I know, again, the aforementioned normals, we all see the bullshit, but a lot of people, especially like swing voters, aren't seeing it. And whether it was, we had this kind of fear mongering in 2009 when Barack Obama was taking office and was proposing the American Recovery Act. It was the new socialism. The United States is becoming a socialist country, Hal. This was the prediction in 2009.
Right.
It's going to be, and in fact, I got banned from the front page of the Huffington Post for calling these people neo-McCarthyites, for predicting the rise of American communism or whatever it was, which never actually happened. Capitalism is fully intact without any problem still so many years later. And then you fast forward to 2016, where, oh God, Hillary Clinton is dying. Do you see how she's dying? And
that's right.
Holy shit, she stumbled getting out of a limo during the 9/11 commemoration ceremony, because she had walking pneumonia.
Yeah, right.
But she must be dying. So of course she can't become president because she's going to die in office. So we have to vote against Hillary Clinton because she's going to die in office. fast forward to 2024, Hillary Clinton's doing just fine. If she had become president, she'd be wrapping up her second term in office right about now. She's doing all the Hillary Clinton things, making cable news appearances, delivering speeches, fully capable health-wise, no problem whatsoever. So I feel like this is what we're going to see. This is like when sort of at the height of the Biden is old garment rending that was going on.
Yes.
I was like, you know what, you motherfuckers. If Joe Biden loses this election because of this Biden is old nonsense, and then 3-4 years from now, Joe Biden's going around doing cable news hits and doing speeches and shit like that, fuck off. You better, we're going to hold you accountable for that nonsense. Because that is exactly what's going to happen. 3 years from now, Joe Biden, I swear to God, unless there's some sort of intervening health issue, which could happen to anybody, including you or me or anyone else listening to the show, unless there's something like that, Joe Biden's going to be doing just fine through his whole second term. But this just goes to show where these ridiculous predictions are nothing but let's create some sort of narrative that we can hang our hats on and that we can, own for social media or whatever clout that we're building on cable news or wherever else. That's what it's all about, clout chasing. And everyone wants to be in on the big thing. And this is what we faced with the Biden is old nonsense. Once again.
There's like an insider thing that, being the cool inside crowd thing has attached itself to the conspiracy theory group as well. Because that's, if you really look at, like, first of all, if anything Alex Jones has said over the years, if a slice of it was true, he'd have been dead a long time ago. That's just fucking stupid. Like, if the Illuminati and the Pentaverate existed the way he said it did and ran everything the way they did, there's no fucking way he survives unless he's working with them and everything he says is meant to be a distraction from what they're really up to. It's the only way that works. Otherwise, it's just nonsense. The same thing is true sort of this, like, of the blather about Biden's age or Hillary being sick and that stuff. Again, you'll recall at the time in the QAnon world, she was sick because she'd run out of adrenochrome. And then they were saying she's going to die, but she's also going to die if she's president. But yet that's how she gets the adrenochrome, is she got it in the White House. And my favorite, I have to say, and Texas Paul mentioned, by the way, he goes, now Trump is pledging not to fund any school with a vaccine mandate. So polio, measles, mumps, rubella, whooping cough. Like, here's a bunch of dead kids in our future, which is an excellent point, Texas Paul. About, like, Trump, he doesn't even know what the fuck he's arguing for. This is what happens when you talk to lunatics, right? So the QAnons, this is my favorite detail. The QAnons believed that on January 21st of 2021, when Biden was being sworn in and Trump was moving out, that they released this video that purported to show children being taken out of the White House, that were being freed from the caves, the catacombs underneath the White House, where they were being kept and drained of their lifeblood for adrenochrome for the elites and all this kind of stuff, right? And my question was that's never happened before. So I guess every Republican president ever has been just as guilty of the adrenochrome milking from babies, Reagan, Bush 1, Bush 2, and we're to assume that's and secondly, why do you only let them out at the end? So the end of Trump's term is the only time, supposedly, according to QAnons, that children have been released. Why they were down there the whole fucking time? How old were they when he showed up? Did he just find out? The fuck is that? What? Why now? What? It sounds like Biden's people are freeing the Trump adrenochrome kids. That's what it said. It literally happened at noon, you dumb motherfucker. What happened? Like that part, I have to say, like there's this crazy meter that was banging around Robin Williams style all during Trump, and that one just went whack. Like it just fucking laid over. And they still,
I was going to say, I mean, no wonder they're selling Trump bucks to these people, because they're absolute suckers. They're recognized as suckers. I mean, the reason Trump bucks exist is because they recognize a willing and open market for people to be completely duped out of their cash. And it's an incredible thing. I always think back, and I bring up this example on my podcast all the time. I always think back to that SNL sketch for robot insurance, for Old Glory robot insurance with Sam Waterston trying to sell old people insurance in case of a robot attack. And then the old people are like, oh yes, we've got to get this robot insurance because, robots are strong and they eat old people's medicine for fuel. I mean, stuff like that. And they're buying it. And I feel like, you know what? I got to go around door to door in these red districts and start selling people robot insurance, because of course they'll buy it if you convince them well
Right.
enough. If there's a QAnon conspiracy theory that's attached to the eventuality of a robot attack, and then of course they'll buy robot insurance because robots are strong.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
then
And
they
they're going to
grab you
take
with
your
those
job.
metal claws.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're the neo Mexicans. They're going to take your job,
Yeah.
and they work for slave wages and blah blah blah. Right, it's coming. And they're in
Yeah.
league with the South Koreans, who are really our enemy, and Kim Jong Un's the good guy, because the South Koreans have a robot bill of rights, and that just proves that they've been in league with Nasara Jasara forever, and the Great Reset. I have to say,
God
there
damn.
are two things that give me joy in the
Mm.
world as I picture them, and one of them is the boxes and boxes and boxes of unsold Glenn Beck books that he
Yeah.
has at the Blaze in some corner of the fucking office, that are meant to be like, we'll send autographed copies so they get their own printed copies of, or fucking Marjorie Taylor Greene's book or whatever. Just in the fucking, like, the printer sends to you as part of your sales part of it that didn't go anywhere. And they're like, we can pulp these or you can have them. We'll tear the cover off, and they put them in used bookstores for a nickel.
Mhm.
Or you could just buy them off of us, and then you can sell them like merch everywhere you go. And so she's like, oh yeah, give me, so just every time they open whatever that fucking closet is, or go down the stairs into the basement, or walk into that room, and they just see them just stinking up the place, making it smell like an old bookstore.
Yeah. Loaded with
I-
silverfish. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Gross.
Yeah.
I hate those things.
And
Yeah.
and the other one, of course, is all these assholes with their dog-eared copies of Art of the Deal that
Mhm.
never taught them a fucking thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they have to pretend like it meant something to them, or it was worthwhile, or that Trump actually knows something. So they got to have it out. They've got to have his fucking book around in case another maggot shows up, like a fucking copy of Mein Kampf.
Yeah.
It's got to be on the shelf so they're on the team, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, my favorite Glenn Beck thing, and you're completely
Mm.
familiar with this because of
Mhm.
the show and everything,
Yeah.
but the fact that he's got like a white microphone pop screen, windscreen, the fact that he's got the white hair,
yeah.
that's a psychological thing. That is a callback to the mega churches. He's got like
Yes.
a lighting scheme and almost like a glory of God thing going on
Yes.
with his visual presentation on that show. Next time you play a clip, the folks certainly in the chat will notice this, where it's just like he might as well just have like God beams coming out of the whiteness
Yeah.
of his hair and his microphone and all that crap. No one's got a white microphone pop screen, because then you can see all of the shit that comes out of your mouth and sticks to the front of it. And it's
Mhm.
specifically there as part of the play on emotions, the play on psychology
Right.
that he's doing.
Oh, I'm
And,
completely jealous
it's
of it.
very obvious.
I've talked about it all the time. My goal in my later life, when I'm broken down and can't, chase the ladies, and I'm kind of like the creep, come back here, blah, blah. When I'm that age, I'm going to be the next Reverend Gene Scott. And you'll recall that, like, Reverend Gene Scott, for those that don't know, was this preacher that would sit on a stage in this amphitheater, this little, not a church, it was a theater someplace that he turned into a church, and he'd have two fucking chalkboards on stage.
Mhm.
And he would, in the beginning, he would go up and he would write Bible verses and stuff. And then as he got older, he had like this fucking, like a playmate. He had ex-Playboy playmates who didn't have a gig or a job or money or whatever. They could come live on his horse farm. So he had like 8 of them living there. And
Live on
yeah,
this
right,
horse
yeah,
farm.
yeah, exactly. And one of them would who looked a little more matronly than the rest, fit the vibe, would go up there and write the shit on the board, like whatever verse he was talking about in the day, and he would just point at it. They would just preload it for the day, and then he would just sit in his fucking chair reading the Bible or his notes or his book or whatever the fuck. And it was like, he was like the original live streamer in a lot of ways. Like, he did 8 hours, 6 hours, wherever he had a UHF channel, shit like that. That's where Glenn Beck and a bunch of these motherfuckers are looking to, like, because behind the scenes, he had this huge horse farm. He had like 3 thoroughbreds that ran in the Kentucky Derby and that kind of stuff. He had sprawling acres of, He had investments all over the fucking country. But if you watch the show, as all the blue hairs did, who mailed him checks all the fucking time, he was just a simple country preacher with a white beard who looked like a guy like a mall Santa reject, who he just refused to wear the red outfit because he didn't like the man fighting Big Christmas or whatever. And so he would just sit there in his fucking overalls or whatever, reading the Bible and talking about it. And he made bank. And that is exactly what Glenn Beck is doing. Like it's a shinier, slicker, more, overt version of it. Just like Ken Copeland, just like fucking Jim and Tammy Baker. Like, I think a lot of these motherfuckers looked at them and went, that's the life.
Yeah, because they saw all the suckers emptying their checking accounts and giving Jim and Tammy Faye Baker all of this money and oh God, their names are slipping my mind, but
Ken
all
Copeland,
of the televangelists, most of them who got into some sort of
Robert Tilton,
horrendous sex scandal. Jimmy Swaggart and all these guys. I mean, notice like Jimmy Swaggart's there crying on television and wiping the tears off with his Rolex watch.
Yes, right.
Okay, dude.
I have
exactly
sinned against you. I remember Bobcat Goldthwait did a bit about this. Like, basically, he just got busted because he had a naked woman in the car with him, and he was just getting off on the idea. He's like, it's basically like a naked Chinese fire drill. Like, you didn't sin against me. Just fucking weird, dude. Like, just running around the car, jerking off. Like, I'm Jimmy Swaggart. Drive away. Yeah. Do you ever see, I think the first, and I'll let you go after this. By the way, bobseska.com is the website. And then you're on, you're on this afternoon. What's your schedule right now?
I'm on, I do free shows Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then I do a Patreon only show on Friday. So 4 days a week, essentially. Yeah. Patreon.com, Bob Seska Show. That's the
there you go.
Website
Excellent.
address. Yeah.
Will the bobseska.com send people there, or is it just in an overall?
Well, I mean, that's sort of a hub. You can get to the Patreon page through bobseska.com, or you can get directly to the Patreon page just by typing in bobseskashow.com. See, I try to make it really super confusing. So this is,
it's good.
bobseska.com or bobseskashow.com. Either way, you'll get to my podcast.
For all the other Bob Seskas that have tried to suck up your Bob Seska-ing while you're busy Bob Seska-ing. I think you and I both need to learn the valuable lesson of being able to speak about House Parks in the third person. I, as House Parks, have learned to House Parks as much as I can House Parks, because people hate, the haters hate House Parks, and the people who love House Parks, I like the people that like House Parks, and that's the way I'm going to talk about myself. That's the other Trump thing that I fucking despise, and I mock it, but I do know, and I think you do too, know that it works. That's the sad thing about that weird, stupid affect when athletes do it, or rappers do it, or whoever the fuck, where they just, and Trump does it, where you're a brand, your name is a brand, and you just say your fucking brand all the time, and it works. It's just, I find it fucking embarrassing. I can't do it without clowning. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's completely gratuitous with it. And there's one thing that he's been doing, I think it's recently, and it's also during the somber brainwashing tail end of his rally with the music and everything, where he's telling some story, and then he goes, and then President Trump says, and then he delivers like a quote of himself, but he's referring to himself as President Trump says, and then he's reading his own quotes off the prompter with this weird music in the background.
Why? Oh, why? Oh, yes. Yes. Oh, yes. Like that. What the fuck? Like that part of it. I was like, this. And I got to say, the reason he's doing it, and the reason we should be happy he's doing it, is it's a sign of failure. If the regular speech was working and people were motivated strictly by the power of his message and all that shit, like, if it worked, he wouldn't have to do that dumb shit. He wouldn't have to say his name all the time, even though his name is known everywhere. He wouldn't have to keep saying it like pathologically to keep that name in people's minds, because he's, as a human being, but for the damage he's done, he's utterly forgettable.
Yeah.
Where's the great piece of architecture that is the Trump building? Where's the Frank Lloyd Wright of Trump buildings? Where are any of these that will fucking matter with or without his name on it? as a piece of architecture where people go, holy shit, that building is key to the skyline of whatever. Like none. There's not a single fucking one.
Yeah, he's exceptional at marketing, and it's like self-promotion and marketing. That's what Donald Trump does best. But none of that equates to will be great president. I mean, this is like something completely separate.
Antithetical to it.
Well, will be great salesman for reverse mortgages in late night television if you want to do that. But actually saying, like, translating that to being a great president, a great steward of the economy is just nonsense. I don't know where everyone's, blown a gasket in their bullshit detector or something like that to go
or
along with
aren't
this
interested.
nonsense.
Right. And I would like to say, for the record, I think the entire idea of a second Trump presidency is a reverse mortgage. It is effectively... It is the reverse mortgage of American values. You know what I mean? All those things we put into American values, of like equality for, and everyone being created equal and all that kind of stuff. We're just going to start walking that back. You start taking back a chunk of that. Just use it for whatever the fuck you want. It doesn't have to have any meaning anymore until you're completely broke and homeless. Like that's what he's pushing for. Patreon.com/Bob Cesca Show.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being on, brother.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you for everything you do. Yeah.
It's a good
I'm just
time.
noticing too. I'm wearing a Peeping Tom t-shirt. Look at this.
Oh yeah, there you go. I feel seen.
My Power Windows guy is spying on you through your
good.
window.
It's fantastic. I don't expect that. It was whatever. I knew it. You like me. You really like me. They're all looking.
That's what makes you the best fucking streaming commentator on YouTube. Absolutely.
And the best is yet to... Sorry. I can't say it anymore. It just dies in my throat.
Oh, man. Hey, look, if you ever
much.
need me to just hang out and laugh at whatever you're doing, I'm happy to just sit in the background.
That's going to be the live show, my friend. We're going to work that out at some point. We're just going to like... I'll do when I'm in town doing Sexy Liberal.
Okay.
We'll do a live version of the show.
Outstanding.
Yeah. And I often come to the DC area around my birthday just for the fuck of it, just because I love to. So we'll see what we can arrange around then too, and then we'll do a true sit down. That'd be great. So thanks so much. Appreciate it, brother. You're amazing. Love you. And take care, and we'll see you soon. Okay. There he goes, ladies and gentlemen. Off he goes. Bob Cesca. Fantastic. Great show today. Super good. Now I'm going to go play with my kid. So love you guys. I'll see you guys this afternoon for the show. Tomorrow, no show because it's the Ultimate Jam night. And then Wednesday, I'm going to try and do shows like normal because we have some super guests coming up, looks like. Yeah? The possibilities of that. I think it's going to be Major and Phil on Wednesday, and then it's a possibility we might be getting Lemp Barnes. Is that the day? I don't want to spill it to you, but it'd be nice. His son was on, so I think that'd be good. And I know he's got a new book that just came out, and I would love to talk to him about it. So that's very exciting. And I have some of all the people. I probably have some direct questions that he won't get anywhere else. I'm pretty sure, considering the Hunter Biden laptop was fake. You're welcome. All right, I gotta go. I'll talk to you guys later. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. Okay, bye. Wait. Oh yeah, there we go.
That Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat. Heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat. Heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat. Heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat.
Never.
Heard that that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your. Heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your. Heard that Saudi.
Okay, I really gotta go. Okay.
Arabia and Russia will repeat your.
All day. All day.
Heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your.
Okay. Thank you guys so much. Hit that like on your way out. See you soon.